Colleagues, let's start. I'm the chair of this event. My name is Larissa Shpakovskaya, and now we have three very distinguished presenters. They all are project-based researchers of Aleksanteri Institute at the moment. Elena Bogdanova is a specialist in sociology of aging research. She did research of justice and regulative systems of Soviet society and post-socialist transformation, and she's specialist in qualitative research methods. Anna Tarasenko, she has a large experience of study social policy and institutions in Russia using both qualitative and quantitative methods. Then the third presenter is Elena Nikiforova. She's online, right? She's online. She's also a fellow of Aleksanteri Institute at the moment, and her current research interests include sociology of space and migration, study of borders and border communities. She studied neighborhoodship, and she's specialist in Anthropocene. And the third presenter is Tatiana Slobodianyk. Sorry, yeah, she is she has a different experience because she's specialist both in practical medical care, and she combines her expertise with art, like producing filming and video arts. And they will present their new research project. Dear presenters, the floor is yours. We have the reglement 30 minutes talk. Then we will have like maybe 10 minutes of my comments if this will be needed. And then you can write, those who are online, you can write your comments in chat or raise hand and ask your questions personally. And those who are in the room, in the audience, you can just ask questions. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Before we start, I just would like to make sure that we are recording the seminar, and as far as I understand, we will only record our presentation, and discussion will not be recorded, so just for your information. So, dear colleagues, I'm really very happy that you are here with us during this presentation of our newly launched project. And it is my pleasure to introduce the project and also tell you a little bit about our first steps. And of course, we are very happy to hear your first reflection on what is going on at the moment, and we'll be happy for any questions because we are doing the work in progress. So we will be very happy to hear your opinion or maybe critical ideas about this. So as you see, we are focusing on body experience and adaptation of refugees, which is caused by Russian invasion of Ukraine. Today, I'm gonna talk within 15 minutes or so, and then I will hand over the presentation to Elena. Elena Nikiforova, who is also a part of our team, she is online. Probably she will just comment at some point. And Tatiana, if needed, also is ready here to comment. So there will be only Elena and I talking. So my task for today is just introduce main ideas, research questions, and also identify those empirical boundaries we are setting nowadays for the project, and just would like to introduce some empirical data. Or just generally what kind of group we are studying and what are the just preliminary understanding of the scope, structure of the group. Then I will talk a little bit about experience of refugeehood and how any kind of practical implications would be drawn from the project that we are doing. And finally, Elena will be talking about theoretical grounds of our work, our project, which is phenomenology of perception. So Elena will talk about studying how actually we plan to study refugeehood from the point of corporality, because this the body experience is in the center of our analysis. So in our proposal of this research, which we applied for the funding with this research to the Kone Foundation, and probably this is the first thing that I needed to tell is actually to thank Kone Foundation for supporting this project, and of course Aleksanteri Institute for hosting this project. In our proposal, we identified two main goals, and of course it is under revision somehow, because there are more sophisticated processes which we are witnessing at the moment, but still we are studying two main things. First of all, we actually start with digging into understanding individual subjective experience of mobility and body adaptation. So this is from where we start. We would like to understand better how actually this forced migration is sensed by individual refugees, and also what kind of problems they're facing. Not all refugees, as you see, we are focusing on those especially with chronic diseases, with different kinds of disabilities and special needs. So this is our group we are looking into. So this is a kind of big question, as you see, and it is rather kind of theoretical one. We try to understand the real experience of people. On the other hand, and actually this part of the research is very much related to my background, and probably I will be the person who will be responsible for this part of the project. It is related to policy implications. And we would like to understand how social policy is actually, or policymakers who are involved in social policy here in Finland, how they are managing this big wave of refugees coming from Ukraine and from other countries, and how actually what kind of policy solutions are offered for them, how they refugees themselves perceive this kind of solutions, how they deal with them, if they maybe somehow refuse following, or maybe they invent some own practices of how to cope, how to deal with the situation. So this is the second question. So these are two components of our project. The third component is related to the art, and we are planning to actually produce visual materials. And this is a separate talk we are gonna maybe arrange at some point, and today we will just keep this art part in the presentation. But again, I advertise that at some point we will arrange a special maybe seminar or discussion related to this. So just to start with general terms and notions, I would like to say that of course we will be looking into the literature related to refugeehood and migration, forced migration. But just give it a start, I just would like to identify those main criteria which are available in the UN Convention. And we see that refugees are understood by these formal regulations as those people who are placed outside their own country of residency or nationality. They have a fear of persecution, and this is the reason why they are not allowed, or they cannot come back, or they don't want to come back, of course, to their country of residency or country of nationality. So, of course, we see already here that there is this distinction between refugees and migrants, because migrants, of course, especially if we are talking about people coming from Russian Federation, is very big question for us, and generally it is interesting to see, or obviously this big group can be structured in several parts, and those people who are relocated are obviously not refugees, but as I will show you in a minute, you will see that there are some refugees who really apply for temporary protection and so on. So we would like to look not only into Ukrainian refugees, of course, this is the biggest group, as I will show you in a second, and it is in the center of our analysis. Still, we would like to see a bigger picture. We really would like to understand what is going on with those people who are coming from Belarus, for example, and Russian Federation. And this is just again for just broadening our understanding, because anyway, those people coming from societies with common Soviet past, and we might see some interesting maybe patterns or differences. Though we are not gonna compare these groups anyway, we would like to just broaden our understanding of how these people from different countries, how they are experiencing this refugeehood. So now I'm afraid that you cannot see everything that is in the slide, but I will just comment shortly. I hope those of you who are online have a better view. So this is the statistics coming from the Finnish Immigration Service, and actually this is an excellent statistics that one can rely on. Starting an analysis, you can see that actually, of course, the majority of people with Ukrainian citizenship, they are coming to Finland, they are applying for temporary protection, and as you see, and also asylum protection, or they are asylum seekers. As you see in numbers, these are people, and if we calculate both of these groups, they will make up around 54, I guess, 1,000 of people or up to that. So for 1 year of more than 1 year of war, we have this huge number of people coming to Finland. So we are focusing on Finland in this period of time. Still, we have, in addition to those people who were relocated, from Russia, for example, there are still people who consider themselves as those who are in need of temporary protection. And they might be also considered in our research as being refugees. And these citizens are of Russian Federation and Belarus. And of course, the number of people is, it's different. Still, we would like to see if these people are also facing similar or different kind of challenges when they are migrating under the force, like not generally due to their will. And this is kind of our plan. As you see, those who come from Belarus, I think the number equals up to 100 people. So these are very different groups in number, but still, as I also already mentioned, we plan to look into their individual experience, and rather than making a representative research with surveys, etc., we are gonna do analysis of individual experience and interviews, etc. Probably Elena will say a few words more about that one. Yes, I believe I can move forward with the next slide before we are going to discuss the phenomenology of perception. The second question that is related to policy implications, we are considering it as very relevant, and the methodology that we are using, the theoretical perspective with this focus on body, we believe this is really not only crucial from the point of theoretical observations and understanding of the entire process from the ground, but also we believe that we are able to produce some policy advice for being useful, of course, for Finnish authorities, but first of all for refugees themselves. And we believe that we are in a position that we can make this kind of contribution to this strategy that we are witnessing at the moment. So these are just general considerations that we have at the moment, but probably we will broaden somehow and deepen them. But just to give you an idea where we are heading with this policy relevance, we formulated in our proposal and we have in our project. just first of all, we know from the literature already that healthcare system, it sees refugees in a very specific way. It portrays refugees in a way so that to help them, obviously, right? We know at the same time that this portrait can be very specific, and this is where we would like to look into in order to understand better how exactly social workers, care workers who are working exactly with the people on the ground, how they perceive refugees, and how they actually see them, how they help them. We know from the literature that sometimes care workers they tend to perceive refugees in a very specific way. For example, this study that I'm referring to here, Anna Boska, she had been studying the maternity experience, and she's actually using the phenomenology of perception. She found out that sometimes care workers, they tend to see some fluctuations in the process of maternity well-being as some kind of disorders, and they pathologizing somehow rather than normalizing their experience. So we would like to look into this literature in order to understand if there are any distortions of in the perception of refugees and kind of processing of their experience, in order to again better understand how care workers and refugees are together working on understanding of the situation in order to resolve this kind of situations. Again, just would like to remind you that we mainly study those who are with special needs, not always people, you know, who are able to work, for example, but those who are in need of special support. So we know that care workers, there's a huge, of course, burden appears on their shoulders, and they also go through different kind of traumas. They perceive trauma, and they develop some different kind of strategies to react to that. And this is from where this kind of portraits and this kind of ideas with regard how to help refugees, this is where they come from. So we are going to look into these individual kind of perceptions and understanding and, you know, processing. Of course, this might help to reflect on practices and maybe somehow open ideas for care workers and refugees, how to communicate better. So that could be one of the policy implications that we are looking into. Second, we know also from studies that refugees themselves somehow select strategies, and this is the second point on the slide. Refugees themselves, they select different strategies when they situate themselves in those conditions that they are placed. For example, we know from our Finnish colleagues at Helsinki University that care workers, for example, if they come from non-EU countries and they were former migrants or refugees, they underuse their right to sickness allowance because they have a feeling of insecurity on the job market. So they know that they have some rights, but they misuse them or underuse them in order to look better for employer. And they actually try to adopt to those rules that exist in this new country for them. So we would like to, again, study these kind of strategies better, how refugees adopt in their environment they have, considering their special position in this situation. So this research that I'm referring here, it is not related to people with special needs, but still I think this is it is illustrative to see that that refugees might, you know, behave in a different way in order to adapt somehow to those rules and opportunities available for them in a host country. And finally, we know for sure from our own experience and from the literature as well that illnesses and different kind of special needs, they are of course perceived, diagnosed, they also treated in a different way. And of course, there's obvious assumption that there's a gap between this understanding of a refugee from his or her personal experience and a care worker who comes from different background and different kind of understanding. So again, we already see that there is this issue with vaccination. People coming from Ukraine, of course, medical medical documents. This is not the first thing they bring with themselves. And care workers and healthcare workers, they don't know much about the medical history of those people. So this is one of the things from where the possible misunderstanding or some complications might start with, because there is a need for screening, understanding the vaccination history, etc. And we know that there is, again, different attitude to vaccination, as we saw during pandemic situation. Ukraine wasn't the first in Europe, for example, being vaccinated. I mean, in terms of the coverage of vaccination of population. So this is from where, again, some complications or misunderstanding could come from. And we hope that this is where our contribution could be. So I believe I will stop here and would like to ask Elena to continue.
Okay, thank you, Anna, for this brilliant introduction and actually presentation of almost all main directions of our research project. And I would like to add this presentation just with our sociological inquiries in this project. So this direction is important, but so in general, purposes of our project are much wider, of course. So why we consider the body as an important organism, as an important phenomenon in the process of refugeehood, because refugeehood is always a body experience. Yes, this is always a process in which body is moving, changing, transforming, and we have this special accent on people with problematized corporeality, problematized body. So refugees with special needs, and we identify in our project such people as people having different chronic illnesses. We didn't limit it by mental or other types of chronic illnesses. It gives us so a lot of freedom, a lot of space for choice when we will contact with our field, with particular implements. Yes, but already here, when we consider refugees with special needs, we meet this problem of double vulnerability. So people who were forced to migrate from their homes, and at that very moment they have some problems with health. And but here I question this point, because intersectionality actually not always mean double vulnerability. In some particular situation, two or more vulnerable specificities actually give some preferences to the people, and so we will comprehend this double vulnerability critically and investigate it. We, from the sociological point of view, we are strongly interested in the process of adaptation to the new environment through body, so through this body experience. And that is why we consider phenomenology of perception as our main theoretical framework. I will explain it a bit later. And in our sociological part of the project, we would like to go deeper than just an access to social and medical care. Yes, we would like to consider some points, some aspects of this body experience, suffering, inconveniences, lostness, which often remain hidden under this research of access to the social and medical care. Theoretical approaches. Actually, phenomenology is one of our theoretical approaches. We also consider some others. This phenomenological approach is based mainly on the work by Merleau-Ponty, Phenomenology of Perception. This is a great, really great work, which gives very rich foundations for theoretization and very rich foundations for cross-disciplinarity. And of course, we see a very rich potential of our research for cross-disciplinary connections and collaborations with psychologists, psychiatrists, and maybe also philosophers. What are the main points which we pick out the Merleau-Ponty's work? So, body is a point of vision of the world and an object of the world. So, this duality is very important for our project. And when we consider refugees, when we investigate refugees, we of course can follow how these bodies are moving and how this point of view is changing. Yes, another point, body is inscribed into environment. According to Merleau-Ponty, human body has very strong and complicated and interdependent connections with space, people, material objects around a person, around the body. Question which is important for our project: what happens when these ties? What happens with these ties during and after replacement? If they remain strong, if they are broken, and if they are broken, how they may be reconstructed with this new environment. Next point is about dominance of the wholeness of the body and order of the environment. Merleau-Ponty has in his work very rich metaphor of phantom limb. So he describes the cases when people may lose a leg or arm, but continues to feel it and continues to suffer. We consider this metaphor very promising for our research. And under this suffering, a person feels and tries to reconstruct the wholeness of the body. So this metaphor, in case of our research, may work directly. So we may see how people having these problems with health try to reconstruct some conditions and so some environment which helps to avoid this suffering, physical suffering. But this metaphor, of course, is very rich in philosophical way, in phenomenological way. So people lose something, how they try to reconstruct this wholeness. And one more point. So connections between corporality and mentality are extremely strong. So this is again a point of Merleau-Ponty. Here again we have this space for cross disciplinary research, and body is not only the body, what is important. And if we will ask in our interviews about the body experience, unavoidably we will ask also about this mental experience, or we will take the information about the mental experience even without asking about that, because this body experience, so it represents also mental processes. Yes, research inquiries. Again, I emphasize that these are sociological research inquiries. These are our research interests of our research group, members of our research group, how we see them now. So, of course, they may change, and most likely they will change in process of field research. So the first one is a border between body and environment. Yes, this is a topic which was suggested by Elena Nikiforova. I think if she is with us, maybe she will tell a couple of words about this topic. The second one, support or reconstruction of self of the refugees in the new environment. This is a question about reconstruction of wholeness in the new environment, in the new situation, and this topic is interesting for me, and I would like to investigate experience of people and how they feel, how they find their connections with the new environment, how they reconstruct the ties, how they negotiate with the new environment, and how their body experience is included, participates in this process. Next topic, which seems to me very promising, is a topic about important things which were carried from home, which so refugees never can take and bring the whole home to the new place, but usually people bring some things with them. So what are these things and why people bring them, why they care about them? Another topic, it is I think maybe more practically oriented, but still very phenomenological. This is a topic about negotiations between the body and new and previous environment. New and previous are in common here, together here. Here the body experience of people with problematized health will be under special interest, what I would like to investigate in this topic are some self-made orthopedic devices, some parcels from home, perception of new food and medicine in this new environment. Yes, and actually now I understand which slide was lost when I was confused. And that was slide about some other alternative theoretical approaches, which also may be applied and most likely will be applied in our research project. These are new materiality, human geography, and emoscapes. So these three theoretical conceptions also look very promising for our research project. Yes, and the last but not the least topic, which seemed very promising in our project, is living in several places simultaneously. Living in several places simultaneously. So again, it appeals to the narrow frontiers conception when people, when a person doesn't lose connection with escaped place, and this is already we know from preliminary interviews and from some other sources of information that refugees often miss a lot places they left. Yes, I'm finalizing. And they live simultaneously mentally in the new place, and they think about the old previous place, and they dream to get back, and they hope to return somewhere. We understand that they may live in more than two places simultaneously. They may also have very strong connections with relatives who migrated to some other places, or with their relatives and friends who are in the war at this moment. So I think I will stop here, and I'm really grateful for coming. All your questions are very welcome, and actually we would like not only to collect questions and comments here today, but also to invite for collaboration. And so our project in the very beginning, and if you see any opportunity, if you have, if you see any connection, topical connections with our project, so we will be very glad to see you among our partners. Thank you.